If you want someone to know the truth, tell them. If you want someone to love the truth, tell them a story. That's the motivation behind a popular animated series from executive producer Chris Wall, and it's designed for children and their families.
Chris Wall has a heart for family-friendly, redemptive entertainment. He spent more than a decade working with DreamWorks Animation and Big Idea Productions on many VeggieTales movies. Chris is passionate about creating stories of truth and beauty. So in 2016, he founded Shining Isle Productions. The Wingfeather Saga animated series is his current project. The stories are resonating deeply with families, both Christian and mainstream.
All right, well, please welcome to the 700 Club, Chris Wall. Chris, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, well, we're going to get into the Wingfeather Saga, but first, I want to know a little bit more about you. I mean, how long have you been in the business? How did you get in the business of animation? All those things.
So I grew up as a kid of the animation renaissance of Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, right?
Yes,
so that was like a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
And as a kid who loved Looney Tunes, those movies really resonated. I first got the opportunity with a Max Lucado story, You Are Special, back in '99, to be a part of that direct-to-video animated adaptation, and then eventually that moved into being a part of VeggieTales.
Yeah, I mean, how did you even get connected with VeggieTales? That's pretty cool. What were you doing with VeggieTales exactly?
So I knew a producer of the series called one day, cold call in the morning, would you like to come join us at VeggieTales? Yes, I would. And so we moved to Nashville 20 years ago and eventually got to produce that series. Got 16 of those movies I got to be a part of.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, it was an amazing time.
Yeah, so fast forward to Wingfeather. How did you get connected with this? Because it's a book series, and then it's being adapted into this TV series, animated series.
The author lives in Nashville. He's a singer-songwriter, Andrew Peterson, who most people know from his wonderful music. He turned to me in 2008 and said, I wrote a kid's book called Wingfeather. Do you want to read it? And I felt obligated. So I took it home and read it with my older kids.
Nice.
And we had a blast with it. It was whimsical. It was charming. And so we read the story along with him as he published those through 2014.
Wow.
And then 2015, I approached him and said, hey, what if we go work to make this together?
Yeah,
so.
I love that. Well, for those who haven't read the books or even seen the series, what's like a brief synopsis of what Wingfeather is
about? A lot of people when reading it feel like it's Narnia.
A
new Narnia, but it has this epic storyline that's more like Lord of the Rings. It's a story that's got a beginning, middle, and end, right? It's more like Frodo and Sam heading to some epic conclusion. And we didn't know that starting it because it felt like we were reading Narnia. It was whimsical, it was charming, kid stuff. And then it got really serious. I think a lot of people think of it as kind of a light story, and then really dramatic, kind of epic things start to occur. And by the end, as a dad reading it, I had multiple times where the kids were like, Dad, go. I can't. Because I'm crying, because it was so powerful and so moving. It just really impacted our family. I think that was one of the things that drew me to the project was seeing how powerful the story was, right?
Yeah, not just for kids, but families. I mean,
for families,
and I love that, you know, you were able to read it with your kids, which I'm sure a lot of people are doing. And you can watch it with your family, too, together, which I think is awesome.
And that came from VeggieTales Land. So I loved being a part of Veggies because we knew we were making it for kids and their families, their older siblings who were looking over the shoulder going, that's actually pretty great. I was a college kid who watched VeggieTales in my dorm room, right? You know, because I was like, this is working. And we wanted Wingfeather to be the same thing. And we've now seen that family movie night, Friday, Saturday, they're watching Wingfeather together.
I love that. Awesome. Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. Well, I mean, talk about the success of the series. It's been pretty successful so far.
And just grassroots. And it's people that read the story and love it and go tell their friends about it, right? And it's just been this ongoing, it's the most uncommon result. So the books are published 08 to 14, and yet in 2020 have their biggest year ever and explode because families continue to find this story. And it's kind of a story for a generation, right? It's this amazing thing that families are clinging to. And we had a young man last night at dinner that was our waiter that said, I read those books when I was a kid. You guys are working on it? He was so enamored. And there's a lot of these 20-somethings who are like, I get to see it now again.
Yes, it's always exciting when like a book that you love then turns into a series as well, because the visual component is so powerful, which I also wanted to talk about. You guys use a technique called paint motion for the animation.
Yeah.
Now, please educate me and I'm sure others who are not quite sure what that means.
Sure. Well, CG animation, Pixar really started this in motion, and it goes towards a photoreal outcome, right, where it looks like it's a real-world thing.
Yeah.
We were drawn to not try to compete with that because it's very expensive. I was at DreamWorks. We know how expensive it is. What if we did something that felt more like a storybook and felt more like something that was handcrafted and illustrated? And so we kind of coined this paint motion idea way back in 2016. And at the time, it was all still, everybody wanted the Pixar look. And then Spider-Man Spider-Verse came out.
Yes.
And it changed everything.
Totally, yeah.
And so now our series is kind of on topic, with what's happening. So
I absolutely love that. Well, I mean, we're running out of time, but I do want to ask you this. What is your hope and what is the goal for viewers and readers to take away from this series?
The series really wrestles with identity, right? The identity that we are given by our Creator, and do we follow that path? And do we allow our family to have input to that, or do we try to find truth in our own selves, in our hearts? Do we try to transform who we are ourselves? That has some negative outcomes, and we see that in the story, that there's characters who make choices that have some really difficult outcomes, that then the question of, can it be redeemed? Can things be made right? And I have great news that this story ends fantastic with just a wonderful redemptive story. So
awesome. Well, I mean, what's in the works right now for the series?
Season 3 is in production.
Season 3.
It'll be out in fall next year.
Okay.
And we're looking at 7 seasons to tell this massive story.
That's amazing.
And so 2 seasons are out now, and we're hard at work on the 3rd season.
Amazing. Where can people watch it?
Angel Studios has been our amazing distributor.
Okay.
And so they can go to the Angel app or any way they want to see it and watch those first 2 seasons.
Awesome. Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and thank you so much for all that you guys are doing with the series. I know it's a blessing.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, for more information on the Wingfeather Saga or to watch the animated series, all you have to do is go to wingfeathersaga.com.